Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back in time, not to the grand courts of emperors, but to the chilly, windswept heart of the Mongolian steppe, somewhere around the 13th century. Forget the legendary conquerors for a moment and instead, picture a more mundane life, the very ordinary existence of a Mongolian horse archer. You're not a great Khan, just a single, unassuming cog in a sprawling nomadic machine. The sun hasn't even had its first cup of coffee yet, and you're already feeling the crisp, biting air of pre-dawn. Your bed isn't a silk-lined canopy. It's a felt mat on the ground of a small, round tent, and the only soundtrack is the gentle shifting of the herd outside. You might think being a fearsome warrior is all about epic battles and treasure, but you're about to learn it's mostly about chores, cold, and a constant, low-level ache in your lower back. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know what corner of the world you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake with a start as a dog barks, a sharp, ragged sound that cuts through the thin felt walls of your jar. The air inside is cold and smells of sheep fat and stale smoke. Pushing off the coarse blankets, you sit up, your joints protesting with a quiet groan. The sun is a faint promise of light on the eastern horizon, painting the sky in soft mauves and grays. Your first task, even before a sip of water, is to step outside and check on the horses. They are the lifeblood of your people, your transportation, your food source, and your weapon, all wrapped up in a four-legged package. Walking out into the vast, silent landscape, you see their dark shapes huddled together, a living part of the rolling, endless earth. You need to make sure they're all accounted for, that no wolf has been brave enough to try its luck overnight, and that they are healthy enough for the day's tasks. This isn't a job you can put off. A missing or injured horse could mean disaster. For your family, that you're looking for subtle signs. A horse holding its head in an unusual way, a limp that wasn't there yesterday. Your father taught you to read their body language before you could even read the tracks they left. It's a skill, passed down over generations, a silent language between human and animal. As you walk among them, their soft snorts and the gentle thud of hooves on the hard-packed earth are the only sounds. You notice one of the younger Maras seems a bit lethargic. You approach her slowly, murmuring a soft, calming sound, and check her leg. No obvious injury, just a bit of stiffness from the cold. You gently massage the muscle, your fingers working in practice circles. It's a mundane, simple act, but it's the foundation of everything that comes after. Without healthy horses, the legendary mobility of the Mongol army is just a nice story. The first rays of sunlight hit the top of the steppe, and it's time to move on to the next task. The gur needs its daily tidying and preparation. The fire pit, a small depression in the center, needs to be cleared of ash and started again. Your mother and sisters will handle much of the cooking and weaving, but the fire is a shared responsibility, a sacred duty. You gather some dried dung, a fuel source that seems to be an endless supply on the steppe, and arrange it just so, placing a small spark from last night's embers on top. The smoke rises, thin and blue, a signal to your neighbors that your day has truly begun. This smoke, by the way, exits through a hole in the top of the gur called a tunno, which also serves as a sort of simple skylight and a spiritual gateway to the heavens. So, you're not just making breakfast, you're also aligning with the cosmos, which is a lot to ask of a smoky little fire. Historians still argue whether the invention of the gur was a single stroke of genius or a slow evolution, but for you, it's just home. You move with a practiced ease, your body accustomed to the low ceilings and the curved walls. Your boots scrape softly on the packed earth floor as you go about your work, a routine that has remained unchanged for hundreds of years. The quiet rhythm of these early morning tasks is meditative, almost hypnotic. It's in these moments, before the sun is fully up and the world is truly awake, that you feel most connected to your ancestors and to the vast, empty land around you. As the sun crests the horizon, painting the steppe in a brilliant gold, your morning routine begins to shift from quiet chores to the main event, your training. But it's not the intense, grueling boot camp you might imagine. This is a gentle, almost playful introduction to the life of a warrior. Your first lessons weren't with a bow and arrow, but with a piece of string and a stick. Your father, sitting patiently with you by the fire, would teach you to tie intricate knots, each one with a specific purpose: a hobble for a horse, a snare for a small animal, a way to mend a broken bridle. This isn't just a survival skill. It's the foundation of your hand-eye coordination, the same precision you'll one day need to notch an arrow in the chaos of battle. You're building the muscle memory for a warrior's hands, one simple knot at a time. It's like learning to knit before you learn to fight, which, come to think of it, is a surprisingly soothing thought. Your earliest memories of training aren't of pain or exhaustion, but of your father's patient hands guiding yours. He taught you to identify different grasses, to track a deer by the faintest disturbance in the dew, and to recognize the distant calls of different birds. He'd point to the subtle shift in the wind and tell you what it meant for the weather. This deep, almost spiritual connection to the land is a vital part of your education. You aren't just a rider. You are a living part of the ecosystem, and to survive, you must understand it intimately. This is where your true strength lies, not just in brute force, but in a profound knowledge of the world around you. You learn to listen to the steppe, to read its moods, and to move with it, not against it. As you grew, the lessons became a bit more physical, but still gentle. You didn't just learn to ride a horse, you learned to exist as a single entity with it. Your father would place you on the back of an old, gentle mare, barely out of your toddler years, and simply let you hold on as she grazed. You learned to balance, to feel the rhythm of her gait, and to communicate with her through the slightest shifts of your weight. The horse wasn't a tool, it was a partner, a friend. The bond you forge in these early years is unbreakable, a silent trust that will one day save your life. This deep bond is something historians still argue about, with some suggesting it was a religious devotion to their animals, while others see it as a purely practical, survival-driven relationship. But for you, sitting on the mare's back as a child, it felt more like a cozy hammock than a military necessity. The quirky tidbit in this part of your training? Your mother would often tell you stories of great warriors and mythic beasts, but she'd also tell you about the importance of being able to fix your own gear. She taught you how to spin wool, to sew, and to patch leather. A warrior who can't repair his own saddle is a liability. This focus on domestic skills might seem strange, but it's a core part of your nomadic culture. Everything you own must be portable and reparable. It's a closed system of self-reliance, and every member of the family, from the youngest child to the oldest elder, plays a crucial role. So while you may be training to be a horse archer, you are just as much a tailor and a shepherd. You're a Swiss Army knife of a person, and frankly, that's a pretty cool way to grow up. Your father would often use games to teach you the skills you'd need. You and your siblings would race horses, not just for speed, but for agility, weaving in and out of felt-covered posts. He'd hide small objects in the tall grass, and you'd have to find them from horseback, a precursor to tracking a fleeing enemy. There was a gentle humor to it all, a constant sense of play that belied the seriousness of the lessons. He wasn't just teaching you to fight, he was teaching you to live, to thrive in this beautiful, harsh world. And as you feel the warmth of the sun on your face, you remember the feel of the horse's coarse mane under your small hands, the first time you truly understood what it meant to be free. Your training on horseback, as you remember it, wasn't a matter of conquering the animal, but of becoming one with it. You don't learn to ride in a saddle with stirrups at first, those will come later. Instead, you learn to ride bareback, with only a felt blanket to protect you from the coarse hair and a simple rope halter for guidance. It's a humbling experience. You feel every muscle twitch, every shift in the horse's weight, every subtle change in its breathing. This is a visceral education, a lesson taught by your body, not just your mind. You learn to balance not through conscious effort, but through instinct, your hips and spine moving in a fluid dance that mirrors the horse's gait. At first, you're clumsy, a sack of potatoes flopping around on a magnificent animal. But with time, something clicks. You stop thinking about holding on and start thinking about moving together. It's the difference between trying to paddle a canoe and just letting the river carry you. Your horse, a sturdy, short-legged pony, is a master of this landscape. Its ancestors have been living here for thousands of years, and it knows the subtle dips and rises of the ground better than you do. You learn to trust its instincts implicitly. If it shies away from a patch of tall grass, You don't question it. You just know there's a snake or a burrowing animal hiding there. Your connection is so profound that you learn to steer the horse without reins, simply by shifting your weight, the pressure of your knees, and the subtle inclination of your body. This is a technique called neck reining, a form of communication so subtle it's almost telepathic. It allows your hands to remain free, which, as you'll soon find out, is pretty important when you have a bow and arrow to worry about. This isn't just about steering, it's about anticipating. You learn to read the horse's ears, the flick of its tail, the tension in its neck. It's a conversation without words, a bond forged in the cold morning air and a shared, silent understanding of the steppe. That a mainstream historical fact about your people's horses is that they were, on average, much smaller than European war horses, standing at about 12 to 14 hands high. They weren't the majestic steeds of knightly tales, but they were incredibly tough. They could survive on the sparse grasses of the steppe and endure brutal winters. You'd never trade your pony for a European war horse, which would probably just get a cold and a bad attitude on this landscape. Another quirky detail is that Mongolians had special songs for their horses. They would sing to them to calm them down or encourage them, almost like a lullaby. It was believed to strengthen the bond between rider and horse, a sort of ancient, pre-Spotify playlist for your four-legged best friend. Historians still argue about the true extent of these songs' use, with some scholars suggesting they were reserved for specific rituals, while others believe they were a common part of daily life. For you, it's just another way to talk to your horse when it feels like a long day of riding. You hum a simple tune and feel its ears flick back, a silent acknowledgement that it hears you. Remember that gentle mare from your childhood? Well, things get a little more serious now. Your father introduces you to the concept of riding for long distances. It's not just about speed, but endurance. You learn to change horses frequently during a long march, jumping from a tired animal to a fresh one in a matter of seconds. This system, called a morin curel, is what allowed your armies to cover immense distances so quickly, a logistical marvel that shocked the settled world. You'd ride a horse until it was exhausted, then switch to a new one, letting the first one run free to graze until it was ready to be ridden again. It's an early form of a relay race, but with way more historical consequence and way less flashy batons. So, you learn to ride not as a separate being, but as a part of a larger whole. Your legs and arms are extensions of the horses. Your heart beats in rhythm with its gallop. The steppe rushes by in a blur of gold and brown, and you are no longer a person on an animal. You are a single, fluid entity. This is the foundation of your identity, the core of what it means to be a horse archer. Without this deep connection, the rest of your training and your survival would be impossible. It's an oddly soothing feeling, this complete surrender to the rhythm of the ride. A feeling that will carry you through every challenge and every quiet moment of your life on the steppe. Now that you've mastered the art of becoming one with your horse, it's time to add a weapon to the mix. Specifically, the recurve bow. This isn't your average garden variety bow you see in movies. It's a composite bow made of wood, horn, and sinew, an intricate masterpiece of engineering. And you're not just shooting it from a standing position. That's for people who live in houses and have time to leisurely sip tea. No, you're shooting it from the back of a galloping horse. This is where all that early training in balance and core strength pays off. You have to be able to ride at a full run, hold your bow steady, draw the string back, aim, and release the arrow all without falling off, all without disturbing the rhythm of your horse. It's like trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster. And you have to do it perfectly every single time. Your bow is your most prized possession, a silent extension of your will. It's short enough to be maneuvered easily from horseback, but powerful enough to pierce armor. You practice relentlessly, from the time the sun rises until the air grows too dark to see the target. Your targets aren't static bales of hay, either. Your father sets up targets of leather and felt, sometimes even small, moving ones on ropes. You learn to shoot in all directions, forward, sideways, and, most famously, backward at a pursuing foe. The famous Parthian shot, as it would be known later, isn't some rare trick. It's a fundamental part of your training. You turn in the saddle, your legs gripping the horse, and release an arrow over its rump, a silent, deadly message to anyone foolish enough to follow you. A crucial, yet quirky. Part of this process is your thumb ring. Instead of using your first 3 fingers to pull the bowstring back, which can cause painful blisters, you use a special ring worn on your thumb. This little ring, made of bone or polished horn, protects your digit and allows for a quicker release. It also makes for a far more comfortable and, frankly, more efficient shot. It's one of those minor but brilliant inventions that makes all the difference. This technique, called the Mongolian draw, is a key reason for your people's archery prowess. It's a small detail, but it's the difference between a sore thumb and a successful hunt, a minor comfort that translates into a major advantage on the battlefield. The difficulty of this skill is hard to overstate. You have to account for the horse's motion, the wind, and the distance to your target, all in the split second it takes to draw and release. You learn to compensate instinctively, your body making micro adjustments without you even thinking about it. You can't just aim at the target. You have to aim at where the target will be a moment later. This kind of spatial awareness is something that is drilled into you from a young age, a skill that separates a capable warrior from a dead one. Historians still debate the true effective range of your bows, with some sources claiming incredible distances, while others suggest a much more practical, close-quarters combat range. You just know that a well-placed arrow at 100 paces is a very reliable dinner plan. There's a rhythm to it all. The gallop of the horse, the creak of the leather, the gentle hum of the bowstring, and the silent flight of the arrow. It's a meditative dance of destruction. The best shots don't feel like you're trying at all. They just happen, a natural extension of your body's movement and your horse's momentum. You don't think about the target. You just feel it, an intuitive connection between your eye, your hand, and the target. And when you finally hit that tiny target at a full run, a small, quiet thrill runs through you. It's the feeling of a skill mastered, of becoming a living, breathing part of the steppe's deadly ecosystem. It's a peaceful feeling in a weirdly destructive sort of way, which is a surprisingly common paradox out here. Your world isn't just about you and your horse. It's about the herd, both two-legged and four-legged. The rhythm of your life is dictated by the pulse of your family and your clan. You live in a community that's so close-knit. It's less a village and more a single, sprawling organism. Your family, called an ale, is the smallest unit, and several ales together form a larger clan, or obo. The loyalty you feel to your father, mother, and siblings is absolute, but it extends just as strongly to your cousins, aunts, and uncles. Everyone has a role, and everyone's role is crucial to the survival of the whole. There's no room for slackers here. If you don't do your part, you might not just fail, you might all freeze or starve, which is a pretty powerful motivator to get your chores done. The structure is simple and logical. The eldest male, your grandfather in this case, is the head of the ale, making the big decisions about where to move, when to hunt, and how to handle disputes. But his power isn't absolute. He consults with the other elders and listens to the wisdom of the women, too. This isn't a top-down hierarchy so much as a collaborative effort. The older generations provide the wisdom, the younger men, like you, provide the muscle and the hunting prowess, and the women manage the household, the animals, and the children. It's a beautifully balanced system, and everyone understands their place. It's the original team-building exercise, and the stakes are, a bit higher than a trust fall. A mainstream historical fact about your society is that kinship ties were the very foundation of political power. The great Khans didn't just rule because they were strong. They ruled because they had the support of the various clans, and their legitimacy was often tied to their direct lineage. The stronger the family ties, the more powerful the leader. This focus on family and clan also meant that marriage was a very serious affair, often serving as a way to forge alliances between different groups. A bride wasn't just a new member of the family. She was a living, breathing peace treaty, which is probably a more complex way to enter a relationship than you're used to. A quirky detail of your community life is the importance of hospitality. A traveler, no matter their status, is always welcome. If someone comes to your gur, you are obligated to offer them food, drink, and a place to rest. To refuse hospitality is one of the greatest sins you can commit. This isn't just about being nice. It's a practical necessity on the vast, empty steppe. The next time you're lost or in trouble, you'll be counting on the kindness of a stranger. This unwritten law ensures that no one is ever truly alone, a sort of ancient safety net spread across 1,000 miles of grass. Historians still argue whether this tradition was born purely of necessity or if it has deep roots in ancient religious beliefs about the sanctity of travelers. For you, it's just the way things are. You open your door, no questions asked. Your daily life is a constant series of small, communal tasks. You're not just training for battle. You're helping your mother with the herd, helping your father mend a fence, or looking after your younger cousins. There's always something to do, and every task is a shared one. The work is hard, but it's never lonely. The sound of children playing outside, the murmur of the adults talking by the fire, the distant bleating of the sheep, it's the soundtrack of your existence. And in this small, mobile world, this tight-knit community is a source of immense comfort and strength. It's what allows you to face the unpredictable nature of the steppe, knowing that no matter what happens, you are never truly alone. The family that stays together, in this case, really does survive together. Your home, the gur, is not just a tent. It's a marvel of nomadic engineering, a round, felt-covered universe that is both simple and deeply symbolic. Imagine your ger. It's a perfect circle, the shape representing the unending cycle of life and the vast, open sky above you. The walls are a collapsible lattice of wood, a clever accordion-like structure that can be folded up and strapped to a horse in a matter of minutes. This is crucial because, as a nomadic people, the idea of a permanent home is as alien to you as a skyscraper. Your home is wherever your horses are, and your gur is the perfect vehicle for that. Setting it up is a family affair, a practiced dance where everyone has a specific task, from unfolding the walls to placing the crown at the center. It's a team-building exercise with a very cozy and very necessary result. The ger's interior is arranged with a profound sense of order and purpose. As you enter, you face north, away from the sun. The south-facing door, or kalga, is the only opening. To your right, the west side, is the domain of men. This is where your saddles, bows, and other tools of the warrior's trade are kept. To your left, the east side, is the domain of women, where your mother's sewing basket, cooking utensils, and other household items are stored. The very center of the gur is the hearth, the heart of the home, a sacred space where the fire burns. This isn't just a place to cook. It's the spiritual center of your family, the place where you connect with your ancestors and the gods. The layout is a microcosm of your world, a physical representation of your values and beliefs. A mainstream historical fact about the gur is that its design has remained largely unchanged for centuries, a testament to its practical brilliance. The felt covering, made from the wool of your sheep, is a natural insulator, keeping the warmth enduring the brutal winters and the heat out during the hot summers. It's a surprisingly comfortable home, far more so than you would imagine. A quirky tidbit about the gur is that there are strict rules about how you enter and behave inside. For example, you must never step on the threshold, as this is believed to bring bad luck. You must also never point your feet toward the hearth, as that is a sign of disrespect. It's a lot like having a very specific set of rules for your own home, but with a spiritual consequence for forgetting to take off your shoes. This deep respect for the home, its space, and its rules is something that historians still argue about, with some suggesting it's purely a form of social control, while others see it as a reflection of a deeper, animistic belief system. The roof of the gur is another fascinating piece of engineering. It's made of long wooden poles that radiate from the central smoke hole, or tonneau, like the spokes of a wheel. These poles create a domed ceiling, providing a surprising amount of interior space and helping to deflect the harsh winds of the steppe. The smoke from the central fire rises and escapes through the tonneau, which can be covered with a piece of felt to keep out the rain or sealed up to retain heat. This simple, elegant design allows for a steady stream of fresh air while maintaining a comfortable temperature inside. So you're not just living in a tent. You're living in a finely tuned climate control system that doesn't require any electricity. In the evening, after a long day of work, your family gathers around the hearth. The fire casts a warm, flickering light on the faces of your family members, and the shadows dance on the felt walls. You sit on your designated side, listening to the elders tell stories of your ancestors, of great hunts, and of battles won and lost. The smell of mutton stew and simmering tea fills the air, and the warmth of the fire is a welcome comfort against the chilly night. This is your life. It's simple, it's hard, but in the soft glow of the gur, surrounded by your family, it's also beautiful. This small, round space is the anchor in your otherwise nomadic life, a constant in a world that is always in motion. Your diet is simple, but it is also a direct reflection of your life and your world. You don't have vast fields of grain or gardens full of leafy greens. Your food comes from your animals, and your meals are dictated by the seasons and the health of the herd. The core of your diet, the very fuel that powers your existence, is meat and milk. Everything you eat is a product of the animals you care for: sheep, goats, yaks, and, yes, even horses. The phrase farm to table would probably make you laugh, because for you, it's more like herd to pot, and the table is just the ground. You're sitting on I in the summer, when the animals are fat and happy on the endless grass. The primary focus is on dairy. Your mother and sisters milk the animals every day, and that milk is processed into a startling variety of foods. There is arrowel, a kind of dried curd that is so hard it could probably crack a tooth if you're not careful. It's like a super durable energy bar, perfect for carrying on long journeys. You also have fresh milk, yogurt, and biaslag, a simple cheese. But the most important drink, and a major part of your diet, is arag, or fermented mare's milk. It's a slightly sour, mildly alcoholic beverage that is packed with nutrients and keeps you hydrated on long, hot days. It's the original sports drink, but with a bit more kick. It's an acquired taste, to be sure, and the first time you drank it as a child, it probably made your face pucker like you'd just eaten a lemon. When winter comes, and the animals are no longer producing milk, the focus shifts to meat. Your people don't hunt every day, but when they do, it's a communal event. A sheep or goat is slaughtered, and nothing, and I mean nothing, goes to waste. The meat is boiled or roasted, and the fat is prized for its energy content. Even the bones are used to make broth or are simply gnawed on for their marrow. A mainstream historical fact is that your people didn't typically eat much in the way of vegetables or fruits, a diet that modern nutritionists would probably have a heart attack over, but which worked perfectly for your nomadic, high-activity lifestyle. The sheer caloric density of your diet meant you could survive and thrive in a very harsh climate. A quirky detail of your culinary world is a dish called korkhog, or Mongolian barbecue, as some people would later call it. But it's nothing like what you're imagining. It involves cooking pieces of meat and vegetables, when you can find them, inside a metal pot with hot stones. The stones, heated over a fire, cook the food from the inside out, creating a wonderfully tender and flavorful meal. It's a method of cooking that perfectly suits the nomadic lifestyle, requiring no fixed oven or large cooking apparatus. The sound of the stones hissing and sizzling inside the pot is one of the most comforting sounds you know. Historians still argue about the true origins of this method, with some suggesting it was a pragmatic invention while others believe it has spiritual significance, connecting the food to the very stones of the earth. But for all the simplicity, your diet is robust and provides exactly what you need. It's the ultimate zero-waste, hyper-local food system. There are no grocery stores, no imported spices, just the animals you've raised and the skills you've been taught to process them. You're never far from your next meal, as long as your herd is healthy. And as you sit by the fire in the gur, sharing a bowl of mutton stew with your family, you realize that this food isn't just sustenance. It's a symbol of your connection to the land and to your people. It's the taste of survival, and it tastes pretty good. As you go about your day, you see that the strength of your family isn't just in the men who ride and hunt. It's in the women, too. Your mother and sisters aren't just caretakers of the home. They are the bedrock of your society. They run the gur, manage the herds of sheep and goats, and are masters of 1,000 crucial tasks that keep everyone alive. In a world with no grocery stores or factories, their skills are the difference between comfort and calamity. You watch your mother, her hands constantly moving, as she milks the animals, churns butter, sews clothes, and prepares every meal. She is a one-woman supply chain, and she does it all with a quiet, tireless strength. Their work is physically demanding and constant. While you may be on horseback all day, they are often on their feet, tending to the animals, fetching water from a nearby spring, or processing hides. You remember your mother teaching you how to make felt. It's a multi-day process that involves wetting wool, rolling it around a central pole, and then pulling it behind a horse for hours on end to compact the fibers. It's a surprisingly violent form of textile manufacturing that takes a lot of arm strength. So, while you're learning to shoot a bow, she's also doing something that would probably count as a full-body workout at a modern gym. It puts a new perspective on who the real powerlifters in the family are. A mainstream historical fact is that women in your society held a surprisingly high status compared to their contemporaries in settled cultures. They had the right to own property, could inherit from their fathers, and had a significant say in family matters. It was not uncommon for women to ride and shoot just as well as the men, and they were often responsible for managing the home and the livestock while the men were away on campaigns. So, the legendary image of the lone, male warrior isn't quite right. He was always backed by an equally capable, if not more so, female counterpart. A quirky tidbit is that women were also in charge of packing and setting up the gur, a skill that required a deep understanding of its structure and a surprising amount of engineering know-how. The entire home, the very foundation of your nomadic life, literally rested in their hands. Historians still argue about whether this elevated status was due to the practical necessities of nomadic life or if it reflected an older, more egalitarian cultural tradition. For you, it's just the natural order of things. Your mother is also the primary storyteller and historian of the family. In the evenings, gathered around the fire, she weaves tales of your ancestors, of ancient heroes and spirits, and of the unwritten laws that govern your community. She is the keeper of your cultural memory, the voice that connects you to your past. While your father teaches you the physical skills of a warrior, she teaches you the mental and spiritual skills you need to be a part of the tribe. She teaches you to respect the land, to honor your ancestors, and to understand the proper way to live in your world. In this simple, quiet life, the roles of men and women are distinct but equal in importance. Neither can survive without the other. You and your father might bring back a deer from the hunt, but it's your mother and sisters who will prepare the meat, tend the hide, and make sure that every part of it is used. They are the managers, the planners, and the tireless workers who ensure that the family not only survives but thrives. And as you watch your mother expertly patch a tear in a felt blanket, you realize that her strength isn't just in her hands, but in her spirit. It's a strength that holds the entire world of your gur together. The seasons, not the calendar, are the true markers of time in your world. And as the seasons change, so too do you. Your life is a constant, gentle ebb and flow, a nomadic journey dictated by the needs of your animals. When the grass grows thin and the air turns crisp with the promise of autumn, it is time to move. The migration isn't a hasty scramble. It's a carefully planned, communal event. You're not packing for a vacation. You're moving your entire life, and everyone has their role. The men are responsible for taking down the gear's wooden framework, and the women are experts at rolling up the felt coverings and packing the household goods. The process is a masterpiece of efficiency. The gur, which took a family's collective effort to assemble, can be broken down and loaded onto a handful of pack animals in a remarkably short amount of time. You watch as your father and uncles dismantle the gear's lattice walls, folding them up like an ancient wooden accordion. The long roof poles are bundled together, and the central crown is carefully wrapped. Everything has a place and a purpose. And a home that was full of life just an hour ago is now just a pile of felt and wood, ready to be strapped to a camel or a yak. This is the ultimate move-in ready home, except the moving part happens every few months. The journey itself is a slow, meandering parade across the vast steppe. The animals lead the way, their hooves kicking up dust and the air filled with the gentle, rhythmic sounds of the herd. The children ride in carts or on the backs of quiet ponies, and the elders are bundled up to protect them from the elements. You ride alongside your father, a spear in hand, your eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble, a wolf, a rival clan, or just a change in the weather. The days are long, and the nights are spent in makeshift camps, the jairs replaced by a simple fire and a bedroll under the stars. The silence of the steppe at night is a sound all its own, a vast, echoing quiet that is both unsettling and profoundly peaceful. But a mainstream historical fact about your people's migrations is that they followed very specific, well-worn routes, often returning to the same grazing grounds year after year. These aren't random wanderings, but a calculated system to ensure the health of both the animals and the land. They knew that overgrazing a pasture would ruin it for years to come. So they moved with a deep, almost spiritual respect for the environment. A quirky detail is that during these migrations, the clan would sometimes carry a special ceremonial banner, a symbol of their unity and identity. It would be paraded at the front of the procession, a visual representation of the group's forward movement. Historians still argue about the precise significance of these banners, with some scholars suggesting they were purely military, while others see them as deeply religious symbols. For you, it's just a beautiful piece of fabric that marks the slow, steady progress of your family. The movement is a constant reminder that you are a part of something much larger than yourself. The wind whips at your face, the sun bakes your skin, and the dust gets into everything. But there's a sense of purpose to it all. You are following the path of your ancestors, a path that has sustained your people for generations. It's an oddly freeing feeling, this lack of permanence. You don't own the land, you just borrow it for a while. And as the last light of day fades from the sky and you make camp, you look up at the endless stars and realize that your home is not a place, but a way of life. The journey is just as important as the destination. The steppe is more than just a landscape. It's the very air you breathe, the ground you walk on, and the horizon that defines your world. To people from settled lands, it might look like an endless, monotonous sea of grass, but to you, it's a living, breathing entity filled with 1,000 subtle details. You see the gentle undulations of the land, the different shades of green. As the seasons change, and the way the shadows of the clouds race across the plains like silent, fleeting ghosts. This is your home, and it has taught you a unique way of seeing the world. There are no forests to get lost in, no mountains to block your path. It's just you, your horse, and the vast, beautiful emptiness stretching to a sky so big it feels like it's going to swallow you whole. The challenges of this landscape are as subtle as its beauty. The weather can change in a heartbeat, a clear, sunny morning turning into a raging blizzard by afternoon. The wind, which feels like a constant companion, can be a gentle whisper one moment and a furious gale the next. You learn to read the signs, the behavior of the animals, the color of the clouds, the feel of the air on your skin, to predict what's coming. This kind of intuitive knowledge is not taught in books. It's absorbed through a lifetime of living on the land. It's like being able to predict a storm just by the way the air smells, which is a lot more useful than being able to predict the weather by looking at your phone, which, of course, hasn't been invented yet. A mainstream historical fact about the steppe is that it acted as a kind of superhighway, a massive corridor that connected the east and west. It allowed for the movement of goods, people, and ideas on a scale that was unprecedented in the ancient world. The nomadic horse archers, in a way, were the gatekeepers of this highway. A quirky detail is the phenomenon of the singing sands, vast dune systems that, under the right conditions, produce a low-frequency hum or booming sound. These mysterious sounds, which are actually caused by the friction of sand grains moving over one another, were sometimes attributed to spirits or dragons. Imagine camping out one night and hearing the land itself start to hum a spooky song. It would certainly give you something to talk about around the fire. Historians still argue about the extent to which these phenomena influenced the local spiritual beliefs, with some suggesting they formed the basis of certain myths, while others believe they were simply a known part of the natural world. The steppe shapes not only your life, but your tactics, too. Without fixed walls or fortifications, your greatest defense is your mobility. You don't fight in a single spot. You fight in an area, using the vastness of the landscape to your advantage. You can appear seemingly out of nowhere and disappear just as quickly, a tactic that would later frustrate the settled armies of Europe and Asia to no end. The landscape is your ally, your shield, and your greatest weapon. It's a land that rewards patience, endurance, and a deep understanding of its moods. The silence of the steppe, broken only by the wind and the occasional cry of a bird, is a profound and comforting presence. It's a silence that teaches you To listen, not just with your ears, but with your entire being. It's a silence that forces you to be comfortable with your own thoughts and to find a sense of peace in the quiet vastness. And as you ride across it, the sun setting in a blaze of glory on the horizon, you realize that this landscape has become a part of you. It's in the way you stand, the way you ride, and the way you see the world. It's the very essence of what it means to be a horse archer. The world around you is not just made of grass and sky. It is filled with spirits. Every rock, every stream, and every mountain has a soul, and it is a fundamental part of your belief system to live in harmony with them. Your spiritual guide, the shaman, or Bu, is the bridge between your world and the unseen. They are not priests in a traditional sense, but healers and intermediaries who can communicate with the spirits of nature and your ancestors. They are the keepers of ancient knowledge, the ones who can tell you the will of the sky, the land, and the great eternal blue sky, or Tungri. Their existence is a constant reminder that your life is intertwined with a much larger spiritual reality. You believe that the world is a delicate balance of forces. You must not pollute a river, as its spirit will be angered. You must not kill an animal unnecessarily, as its spirit will seek revenge. This isn't just about conservation, it's about respect and survival. The shaman performs rituals to appease these spirits, to ensure a good harvest, a successful hunt, or to heal a sick member of the clan. These rituals often involve chanting, drumming, and dancing, all of which are designed to put the shaman in a trance-like state, allowing them to travel to the spirit world. It's a lot more interesting than watching the evening news. That's for sure. A mainstream historical fact about your beliefs is that they were primarily animistic and shamanistic, with a special reverence for the sky god, Tungri. He was seen as the supreme deity, the source of all power and authority. This belief system would later be instrumental in justifying the conquests of the great Khans, who claimed they were acting under the divine will of Tungri. This connection to the sky god meant that even your most mundane actions had a cosmic significance, a powerful way to make you feel like a small part of a very large, important plan. A quirky tidbit about these beliefs is the importance of abu, or sacred stone piles. These are often built on mountain passes or high points and are used as altars for rituals and offerings. When you pass one, you must dismount, circle it 3 times clockwise, and make an offering, usually a small rock or a piece of cloth, to show respect to the local spirits. It's an ancient form of leaving a tip for the divine. Historians still argue about whether these practices predate the formal shamanistic traditions or are an integral part of them. The shaman isn't just a religious figure. They are also a key part of the social fabric. They are healers, counselors, and interpreters of dreams. When a member of your family is ill, the shaman is called upon to diagnose the spiritual cause and to perform a healing ceremony. They don't just treat the body, they treat the soul, and their work is seen as just as important as the work of the warriors and the herders. The sound of their drumming, a low, hypnotic beat that resonates through the gur, is a familiar part of your childhood memories. It's a sound that promises healing and connection, a sonic bridge between worlds to eye in your quiet moments. You feel the spirits around you. You feel the wind on your face, not just as a physical sensation, but as the breath of the sky. You feel the ground under your feet, not just as dirt, but as the living body of the earth. This spiritual connection to the world is what gives your life meaning and purpose. It's what reminds you that you are a part of a great, endless cycle. A cycle of life, death, and rebirth that is as old as the steppe itself. The quiet comfort of knowing that you are never truly alone, that the spirits of your ancestors and the land are always with you, is a feeling that helps you sleep soundly. At night, the call to arms doesn't come with a blare of trumpets or a grand declaration. It comes with a quiet word from your father or the head of the clan. The enemy, a rival tribe or a distant city, has encroached on your grazing lands. Or perhaps a leader has sworn allegiance to a great Khan. Whatever the reason, the time for quiet chores and leisurely days is over. But before you get to the battlefield, there is a period of intense, almost meditative preparation. The romance of war is something you will only read about in history books later. The reality is mostly about making sure your gear is in perfect working order. It's the ancient version of checking your car's oil before a long road trip. but with much higher stakes. You spend a full day just on your equipment. Your recurve bow, that beautiful composite masterpiece, needs to be inspected for any cracks in the horn or wood. The sinew that holds it together must be supple, not brittle. You check the string, twisting it to ensure it's strong and won't snap at a crucial moment. Your quiver, a sturdy leather pouch, needs to be filled with fresh arrows. You inspect each one, checking for straightness, making sure the fletching is perfectly aligned, and sharpening the points. An arrow that flies true is a matter of life and death, and you trust nothing less than your own handiwork. This quiet, meticulous work is a ritual in itself, a way of focusing your mind and calming your nerves before the unknown. Your horse, your greatest ally, also receives a great deal of attention. You spend hours grooming it, checking its hooves for cracks, and making sure its saddle and bridle are in pristine condition. You even give it a little extra feed and water, a small token of gratitude for the work it's about to do. A mainstream historical fact is that your people often rode with more than one horse, sometimes as many as 5, on campaign. They would ride one for a few hours, then switch to a fresh one, keeping their mounts from getting exhausted and allowing them to travel vast distances without stopping. This logistical brilliance was a key reason for their military success. A quirky tidbit is the special fermented mare's milk, or arag, you would drink before a campaign. It was believed to give you strength and courage, a kind of ancient, slightly alcoholic pre-workout drink. Historians still argue about whether this tradition was for practical nutritional purposes or a more spiritual, ritualistic one, a question you don't spend much time thinking about as you gulp it down. Your armor, a simple leather tunic hardened with lacquer, is also checked for any weaknesses. It's light, flexible, and allows for maximum mobility, a much different approach to the heavy, cumbersome plate armor of the knights in the West. You value speed and agility over brute force, a philosophy that is reflected in every part of your kit. You spend a moment with your family, a quiet goodbye that goes unsaid, because in your world, every parting is a potential final one. There are no tears, just a gentle nod and a shared look of understanding. Your mother and sisters give you a final, silent blessing, and you know they will be praying for your safe return. The night before you leave, the clan gathers for a simple, communal meal. There are no grand speeches, no rousing battle cries. There is just the quiet warmth of the fire, the taste of roasted mutton, and the shared knowledge that you are all in this together. The sound of the wind outside is a soft song, a peaceful counterpoint to the quiet tension in the air. You lie in your gur, listening to the soft murmur of your family's voices, the creak of the leather, and the gentle sigh of the fire. You are ready, not because you are unafraid, but because you have prepared, and you know that in this quiet, mundane readiness lies the truest form of strength. The moment you ride out with your clan, the quiet, meditative pace of your daily life is replaced by a sense of purpose and motion. The strategy of your people isn't about brute force or forming a solid line and charging forward. It's about movement, deception, and using the vastness of the steppe as a weapon. Your tactics are an extension of your nomadic lifestyle, a philosophy of war that is just as fluid and adaptable as your home. You don't fight a battle. You orchestrate a dance of death across a landscape you know better than your enemy knows. Their own shoes. You ride in loose formations, not in a tight, disciplined block. This allows you to spread out, making you a much harder target for enemy arrows. It also gives you the space to maneuver, to turn on a dime, and to fire your arrows without hitting your fellow warriors. You communicate with hand signals and banners, a silent language that allows for complex maneuvers without a single spoken word. Your enemy, often a settled army, is used to fighting in a fixed place with predictable lines and predictable tactics. They want you to meet them on their terms, but you have no interest in that. You fight on your terms, using the open plains to your advantage, a home field advantage that's about 1,000 miles wide. A mainstream historical fact is that one of your most effective tactics was the feigned retreat. You would charge at the enemy, fire a volley of arrows, and then, just as they began to close in, you would turn and ride away. The enemy, thinking they had you on the run, would foolishly pursue you, breaking their formations and tiring their horses. Once they were disorganized and exhausted, you would turn on them, surrounding them from all sides and unleashing a relentless rain of arrows. It's a psychological tactic as much as a military one, a clever trick to bait your opponent into making a mistake, and it worked almost every single time. It was the ancient world's version of a well-executed prank, but with much more permanent consequences. A quirky detail of your battle strategy is the use of an ancient version of psychological warfare. You would sometimes tie small pieces of cloth to your bowstrings, which would whistle as the arrow flew through the air. The combined sound of 1,000 whistling arrows was a terrifying and demoralizing sound, an auditory assault that would cause panic and confusion among your enemies. It's a little touch that turns a simple weapon into a tool of fear, and it worked wonders. Historians still argue about the true effectiveness of this tactic, with some suggesting it was a key part of your people's success, while others believe it was a secondary effect of their archery skills. For you, it's just a part of the job, a way to add a little something extra to your already impressive arrow storm. The battle itself is a flurry of motion and sound. The thundering of hooves, the twang of bowstrings, the shouts of men. You are a small part of a much larger whole, a single arrow in a vast quiver. Your training kicks in, and your body moves on instinct. You don't think about your next shot. You just fire. You don't think about your horse. You just guide it. The battle is a blur of motion, a chaotic symphony of violence that you are a master of. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it's over. The enemy is scattered, their forces broken, and you, your heart still pounding, ride back to your clan, a quiet sense of victory settling over you. You are a horse archer, and you are very, very good at your job. The return from a campaign is a quiet, almost anticlimactic affair. There are no victory parades, no grand monuments erected in your honor. There is only the slow, steady journey back to your clan, a journey that is often as long and grueling as the campaign itself. You ride with a sense of weariness, your muscles aching and your mind tired from the constant state of alertness. The adrenaline of battle has long since faded, replaced by the quiet, familiar ache of a long day in the saddle. It's a bit like coming home from a very intense business trip, only your briefcase is a bow and arrow and you're covered in dust. As you approach the familiar encampment, the first thing you see is the smoke from the jares, a welcome sight. Against the endless horizon, the children, who have been watching for your return, spot you first and run to greet you. Your family comes out to meet you, and the reunion is a quiet affair of hugs and gentle words. There is no need for grand speeches. The fact that you are home is enough. Your horse, your loyal companion, is given to your younger brother to tend to, and you are led to the warmth of the GR. The smell of stew and the gentle flicker of the fire are more comforting than any treasure you could have possibly won. The first thing you do is not to rest, but to attend to your wounds, if you have any, and to clean your gear. A warrior who neglects his equipment is a warrior who won't live to see another battle. You meticulously clean your bow, oiling the wood and checking the sinew. You sharpen your arrows and mend any broken fletching. This quiet, repetitive work is a form of therapy, a way to process the chaos of the past few days and to ground yourself back in the rhythm of your home life. It's a lot like cleaning out your garage after a big move. It's a lot of work, but the sense of order and calm that comes with it is invaluable. That a mainstream historical fact is that the spoils of war, while sometimes significant, were not the main goal of a campaign. The true victory was often securing new grazing lands, establishing control over a trade route, or simply ensuring the safety of your clan. The goods you brought back would be distributed among the family and the clan, a communal sharing that ensured everyone benefited from the victory. A quirky tidbit about the return is that the clan shaman would often perform a special cleansing ritual to help the warriors wash away the spiritual taint of battle. This was seen as a crucial step to reintegrating back into peaceful society and ensuring that the spirits of the dead didn't follow you home. Historians still argue whether this was a true spiritual belief or a pragmatic way to help soldiers deal with the trauma of war. For you, it's just a calming, familiar ritual that brings a sense of closure to a dark chapter. You sit by the fire, your armor and weapons neatly arranged on your side of the gur, and you listen to your mother and sisters talk about the daily happenings of the camp. The sheep count is up, the milk is flowing, and the children have been behaving. It's the kind of mundane news that feels more precious than any amount of gold. You are a warrior, yes, but you are also a son, a brother, and a member of a clan. And in the quiet glow of the gur, you realize that this is what you were fighting for all along. The quiet hum of your life, the comfort of your family, and the gentle, rhythmic pulse of the steppe. This is your reward, and it is a good one. The years pass on the steppe, not in a rush, but in a slow, steady procession of seasons. The youthful strength in your back and arms begins to fade, replaced by the quiet wisdom of age. You no longer ride out with the warriors on campaign. Your place is now here, in the heart of the clan. You are an elder, a storyteller, a living link to the past. The skills you once used for battle are now used for teaching the next generation. You sit by the fire, your hands, once so quick with a bow, now calmly weaving a rope or mending a bridle. It's a peaceful transition, a natural part of the cycle of life. You are a tree that has borne its fruit, and now your role is to nurture the new sprouts. You watch your own children and grandchildren grow up in the same way you did. You teach them the knots, the songs for the horses, and the subtle art of reading the wind. Your voice is softer now, your instructions gentler. You are the embodiment of the clan's history, and every night, gathered around the fire, you pass on the stories of your life, the hunts, the migrations, and the battles. You fought. The young ones listen with wide, eager eyes, their imaginations taking flight on the wings of your words. You are their textbook, their encyclopedia, and their bedtime story all in one, which is a lot of pressure, but you handle it with a calm. Practiced, eased out a mainstream historical fact is that elders in your society held a position of immense respect. Their experience was seen as a priceless resource, and their counsel was sought on all matters, from where to move the herd to how to settle a dispute. You are the living memory of the clan, and your wisdom is the compass that guides its future. A quirky tidbit about your old age is that you now get to spend more time with the shaman. As an elder, you have a deeper understanding of the spiritual world and can assist in certain rituals, offering your insights and your quiet support. The sound of the shaman's drumming is no longer a strange mystery. It's a familiar rhythm that resonates with your own soul. Historians still argue about the precise balance of power between the military leaders and the elders, with some suggesting a constant tension, while others believe it was a harmonious and balanced system. For you, it's just the natural order of things. You fight when you're young, and you guide when you're old. You sit outside the gur, the sun warming your face, and you feel the familiar ache in your joints. But it's not a pain of weakness. It's a gentle reminder of a life well lived. You watch your grandson, a small, dark-haired boy, clumsily trying to mount a young horse, and you feel a wave of deep, quiet satisfaction. He will be a warrior one day, just like you were. He will feel the same joy of a horse's gallop, the same thrill of a well-shot arrow, and the same quiet comfort of the gur after a long day. You know that the cycle will continue, a beautiful, endless loop of life on the steppe. You have no regrets. You have lived a life of purpose, a life tied to the land and to your people. You have seen the sun rise over 1,000 different horizons and have slept under 1,000,000 different stars. You have been a son, a warrior, and now an elder, and in all of it, you have been a part of something much greater than yourself. The quiet, ordinary life of a horse archer was, in the end, an extraordinary one. Word count, 1045. Now, let the final images of the steppe drift softly into your mind. The sun has set, and the quiet of the night is beginning to settle. The fire in the center of the gur is now just a warm, glowing ember, casting long, peaceful shadows on the felt walls. You can hear the gentle breathing of your family, the distant bleating of a sheep, and the soft, rhythmic hum of the wind. The vast, starry sky stretches out above you, an infinite canvas of peaceful light. Feel yourself getting heavier, more relaxed. The journey is over. All the chores, the rides, the stories, they have all brought you here, to this moment of quiet rest. The world outside can wait. For now, there is only the feeling of the soft felt beneath you, the gentle warmth of the fire, and the silent, comforting presence of the endless night. Let go of the day, of all the thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to simply be. Your bed is your gur, and the quiet hum you hear is the sound of the world breathing around you. Just breathe.